The Foxes have been officially eliminated in their first ever season of existence as they host Steve Trichu and the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, who are in a similar boat, but whenever you throw on the shirt and whenever the badge is present, there's always pride at stake. Here from Chuck Chaney Park, Tyler Terrence, along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. And Devin, for the Fresno Foxes, we'll keen in on them for the Open. There's good news and bad news for the 2018 campaign. Devin, which one do you usually like to hear first?
Let's take the bad. I'll take the bad news first.
All right, well, that's what we were going to do anyway. Late losses has been the theme for Adam Smith's side, Devin. And really, if you look at the season on a whole, they've had 11 losses that have been late in the game. 6 out of those 11 have come 76th minute or later. It has just been a tale of not being able to close out games or letting teams sneak in late.
They always say it's the one that got away. For them, it's not one. It's probably right around 10 or 12. If you take a look at the fixtures that they've played, they're 8, 12, and 12. Those 12 ties are coming involved heavily contested matches over the course of the season. And if you look at what they've been able to do in their body of work, they are right there with teams at the top of the Western Conference. Adam Smith telling us the only thing they've really done wrong was all the way back in May versus Orange County Soccer Club, a 3-0 loss. Now, on the reverse side of things, they've had trouble giving up late goals, but they've also shown that they can get it done late in games as well. The problem is they're usually coming from behind. 7 game-tying goals after the 66th minute. That is a staggering statistic, so it shows that they've got fight and excellent character. The problem is they're always coming from behind. They want that to be a go-ahead goal.
They've had some solid results throughout this season, and even this game against Reno in the 67th minute, they were able to find a late one. Juan Pablo Caffa, who's probably the most talented player on this Adam Smith team, was able to find a late equalizer in the 67th minute, and it really has been a back-and-forth side for the expansion side. And Devin, when you think of expansion teams, usually there is going to be some inconsistency. This was the latest of the bunch. And how about Chaney? Terrific ball in from Don Spartan. This is when their playoff hopes were still alive.
Beautiful ball, even better finish. And that's the problem is, right back to the numbers we said before, they haven't been able to close. And you take a look at the entire season, they've got the right players. Adam Smith telling us that, look, we are going to keep a core group. We know what we want going into next season. Unfortunately, in specific areas, up top in the 9 and in the 10, couldn't close out. Get ready for 2019.
Well, the first ever season at Chuck Chaney for the Fresno Foxes hasn't exactly gone according to plan as they host the Colorado Springs Switchbacks in one of the final games of the 2018 campaign. It's Fresno and Colorado Springs when we come back. Almost set for kickoff between Fresno and Colorado Springs Switchbacks in the penultimate game of the season and home game of the season for Fresno, as we'll take a look at the last match between these two sides. And Devin, well, It's part of that late losses theme for Adam Smith and Shane Malcolm. We were talking about this free kick, sort of a bizarre deflection that ended up working out perfectly in Colorado Springs, coming up with a big win. This is all the way back on June 23rd.
I consider myself a bit of a set-piece specialist, but when you get bounces like that, that's Ronaldo-esque. Everything just going in your direction. And they're going to have to do it again tonight, because when you come in here, you have a very talented squad under Steve Trittu. Josh Suggs, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, left back in all of USL. Jordan Burt has stepped back from his midfielding duties on the right side. Abusi and Jack in the back, Puati in the middle. Now, Fresno Foxes, they're going to go like this. Daly on the left, Ellis Hayden on the right, Fewo in the middle. Interestingly enough, Fewo has had a little bit of an issue recently, but got back into form, so it's nice to see him back. Jamal Johnson, a lot going on in the lineups that we'll get into a little bit later on.
And it's going to be Meyer Bevan getting the start as well, as we are almost set for kickoff here at Chuck Chaney. And we're officially underway in the second to last game of the season. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, Fresno, sporting their navy blue kits. Colorado Springs on the road, albeit sporting their all whites. Saeed Robinson couldn't quite sneak it through, as we mentioned before. Nothing competitive as far as the playoffs is concerned on the line for these two teams tonight. But Devin, I'm sure there have been a few games for you where maybe first.
You were going to ask, I'm going to tell you.
There was never one game in your career, professional, collegiate, club, where there was no significance whatsoever. The season was gone. There's nothing to be done.
There were points of a game where I knew it was over. I'll give you a great example. U19, we win state championships again, by the way, and we go to regional championships. Actually make it to the regional final. Regional semifinal. I had moved from center back into holding midfielder position due to injuries over the course of the tournament.
Oh boy.
3 minutes into the game, I turn around, just play ball right to their number 9. He runs in and scores. And I had that kind of night. And unfortunately, we ended up losing 3-1, but it was 3-0 with 2 minutes to go in the game. And you just knew it was over. I knew that my club career at that point in time was never going to see anything else. And I walked off the pitch. Didn't even try and auction anything off. I took my entire bag, my boots, my jersey. I walked into the stands and threw it at the little kids and walked away. So never going into a game, but towards the latter portion, I knew it just wasn't a good night.
Well, we've played mini golf before. I mean, I've known that you were a sore loser, but that story sort of really puts it into perspective for me. The only thing that I really took away from that was the fact that you went from a position where you're already going to kick people and then put into a 6 where you're even more prone to kick somebody and break their legs. So I just feel for whoever had to go up against you while you were in a holding midfielder role.
It was not fun. It was a bad night.
For anybody involved.
For sure. And let's go back to the lineups, too, because unfortunately the kick referee kind of pushed him out a bit early, so it was difficult to get through for everybody. But I want to give you an idea exactly what's going on between these two squads. Adam Smith and Fresno, Kenan Fewo on the left side, they had said that he was actually going to be out due to his hamstring. So obviously some things have come back in. He's dealing with that right hamstring strain. He's back in. Zach Ellis Hayden on the right.
It's a good ball in from Ellis Hayden, and the header from Alex Cooper. Did not get that right whatsoever, but a good-looking move from Fresno.
That's the surprise right there, because you expect Alex Cooper is going to be playing in the left-back position. Not the case. Kenan Fewo able to go. Chaney and Ribeiro be in the middle. Kaffa sitting in the 10 right behind Meyer Bevan, the loanee from Vancouver Whitecaps. And then on the other side of the ball, Colorado Springs. They've got a pretty consistent team. I said to Adam Smith, and he agreed with me, that these two squads are two teams that can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, but it's been a consistency thing. Colorado Springs over the past month has taken down the not-so-mighty Monarchs twice. I mean, that's impressive. And they've done it on the road and at home. Marty Bateman will set up top with Saeed Robinson, Shane Malcolm, Vercoloni. Schweitzer's gone in the middle. Sam Hamilton, on loan from Colorado Rapids, has been on the right side. He's done well. And then, again, we mentioned Jordan Burt being relieved of his midfielding duties, stepping into that right-back position. It's very impressive last game.
Delivery denied, and a corner kick coming up for Fresno. Well, if you ask me, Jordan Burt at the outside right back position, and then Josh Suggs over on the left. Those are two very strong players
This corner kick
in what's becoming more and more of an important position on the field.
Scoring opportunity. So Fresno,
as that might be one of the loudest public address announcers I've heard in a long, long time. No fault of his own, just maybe the speakers are really on point tonight as the corner kick lofted in. Nodded away by Colorado Springs. Jordan Burt helping it along. Alex Cooper. Ribeiro drives it in, laid off for Jamal Johnson. He's gonna have a hit. Certainly teased Moise Poate. And Jamal Johnson, who scored a few like that this season, which have found their way on a SportsCenter top 10. A few whiskers away from adding another one to his tally. It's a good look at the New Jersey native who has battled injury throughout the course of the season. And Devin, I'm sure if you asked Adam Smith whether or not Jamal Johnson was missed in those big matches, which really became the turning point with regards to their postseason hopes, I'm sure Adam Smith would have really liked to have him in the lineup, or at least available to be able to put him on as a sub and maybe convert some of those late losses into late wins, or some of those late ties into late wins. As here's Schweitzer, Robinson, Shane Malcolm. Now it's out wide for Suggs, who tries to drive it across, and that's actually very good defending from Ellis Hayden out wide.
It plays right into your comments about the consistency that we were talking about, and Jamal Johnson, a guy that's got some really solid statistics, and you really only feel like he's featured in about half of their games. It's a bit more than that, but as you mentioned, injury, floating in and out of the lineups, and not really finding form on a regular basis. It's been a struggle to get him continuously involved.
Suggs on top of the corner. He'll take them from both sides, predominantly left-footed. Here is Josh Suggs towards the near post. Won by Fresno. Schweitzer. Of course, Kyle Rainish in goal for Fresno. There's been a lot of rumors whether or not this is going to be his last season. He's had an outstanding career, and Adam has just been happy to have him around and have him be able to lead from the back in the first ever season for the Foxes. And whenever we asked Adam about Rainish over the course of the season, had nothing but terrific things to say about him and the type of person that he is, the character that he possesses, as Ellis Hayden puts in another good challenge and is off to a nice start in the opening 7 minutes.
That's going to be a massive question mark for the Foxes coming into the 2019 season. Who's going to take over the shirt back there and wear that #1? Proud that Kyle Rainish has done such a great extended career, and he will be stepping away. But, you know, they brought in Mark Pies recently. They signed him on August 31st. Think he might be an answer. He's not really ready to concede the #1 yet, Adam Smith, but says that, you know, he's really looking to get 2-3 really quality, high-quality goalkeepers. I'm sure any manager would say the same thing, but it's going to be difficult shoes to replace Kyle Rainish.
Any goalkeepers of the backup variety around the USL that maybe jump to mind?
Not only jump to mind, but someone that has experience here, CJ Cochran. He loved him early on, had them on a loan, did such a great job coming over from Nashville. And, you know, you stay with the Smith boys, Adam Smith and then Gary over at Nashville SC. They needed him back, and you know, Matt Pickens needed some rest here and there, so they had to get CJ Cochran into the rotation. He loved him here, said he was such a hard worker. Wouldn't be surprised if they went after him in the offseason. You can try and make him the #1, but again, they do have some other options. They've brought in Mark Pies. He played recently. Sam Howard, a youngster that they're trying to get involved out of LaSalle. And so you never know, though, because look at the rotating door that was goalkeepers coming into this season. We saw some massive names depart clubs that you would have easily assumed they were going to be the #1, took off one another direction.
Well, something that jumps to my mind as far as the Western Conference is concerned, how about a Zach Lubin? He's had a terrific season for Phoenix when he stepped in for Carl Wazinski, as this ball bent in, asking questions of the Fresno back line, but they have the answers. I mean, Rick Shantz has told us time and time again that that job was more or less up for grabs, and you know, Lubin got hurt in the game against Colorado Springs, with Jordan Burke eventually getting sent off for what we still believe to be maybe a tackle that wasn't warranted, a red card. Some people over in Phoenix respectfully disagree with us, but that's what it's all about.
Got an earful on that one or two, didn't I?
Not to name names, but Jose Bosch.
Jordan Burt, he's not a malicious player. He doesn't put in challenges like that. He had gotten an opportunity to come out of the midfield and tried to make the most of it. Unfortunately, studs up, got caught late.
Goes in for Vercoloni. He's going to turn and have a hit, and that's easy work for a keeper of Rainish's caliber. Ribeiro forced to go negative. There's a look at the save percentage for Fresno on the season. 6th in the USL. Split between their keepers who have had the honor of taking a spot in between the sticks as Rainish's ball out of play. And a deep throw in for Colorado Springs. Here's Jordan Burt. He was actually the leading goal scorer for Colorado Springs at one point last season, just due to all the penalties that he was taking. Eventually, Kavan Frater and Master Cashier would overtake that honor. Cashier, of course, with the Monarchs. Kavan Frater over with Phoenix Rising FC, and a roster for Steve Trichu that really was, for a better word, ravaged in the offseason. But that's a credit to Steve Trichu and the hard work of those young men who are able to earn themselves a spot onto playoff contenders, as Cooper sent the other way, but was beat for pace, and that's a terrific sliding challenge coming in from the 30-year-old from Trinidad and Tobago, Jamal Jack. And Alex Cooper has had two very good chances in the early going.
It's a fortunate bounce for Fresno coming out of the middle. Takes a nice deflection, falls right in front of the run from Meyer Bevan. Plays a great ball to the overlapping run of Alex Cooper. Unfortunately, not enough speed to get there, and a fantastic tackle by Jamal Jack.
Here's Burt, good communication from Fresno. Saeed Robinson, he's gonna tee it up. Blocked before it could cause any sorts of problems for Kyle Rainish. Vercoloni, the veteran. Just dinked over the top. Vercoloni's gonna be able to get there, dragged down. No call, says the referee. And much to the delight of the Fox faithful. Here's Meyer Bevan. He's gonna turn the corner and put on the brakes. Bevan looking for an avenue. Finding Jamal Johnson in support. It's off the post. And Meyer Bevan.
Shot of the bar and just wide by Fresno FC.
Well, I think it's the understatement of the century to say that he'll want that one back. Probably could have taken one, maybe two or three touches.
Feeling like the what-ifs every single game have just continuously piled on. Brandon Smith and his boys, great job by Bevan. You could see him looking, where's my support? Finds Johnson, who had tucked in from the right side, has a crack on that big left foot. Bevan's gonna want to do better with that, but that's a difficult one to hit. Ball's deflecting back at you with pace. Have to readjust your body, try and put something on frame. Is still very young, Meyer Bevan. Maybe like to see him even bring that ball down. Did have time, but again, it's a split-second reaction. You can't fault him.
Well, Bevan was very impressive with Vancouver Whitecaps too. In the 2017 season, he was usually one of the main players that was popping up on the opposing coach's scouting report. As here's Saeed Robinson finding Jordan Burt getting forward. A lot of attacking power on either outside back position for Colorado Springs, as there's a push in the back from Vercoloni. He gets away with it, tries to slide it across. And Del Campo able to clear it away. Adam Smith, scarf and all, not having a good time so far. And I can't help but agree with him. If that ends up in the back of the net, that was a pretty clear and blatant foul from Vercoloni.
Smith's English, but that's some pretty solid French on the sidelines. I respect that. Bilingual?
Didn't know he was bilingual.
Didn't know.
Corner kick sent in towards the back post. Rainish just gets a fingernail to it. Here's Robinson. Time and space, elects to put it on frame, but finding the wrong side of the frame, and a goal kick coming. You've got your hand up like you want to say something.
I was keeping an eye on The limping run back by Martin Maben. First off, he took a knock in the back of the head prior to that ball being served in. You have to respect Kyle Rainish on this move because as it gets floated to the back post, you can see him, he gets caught out of position a bit, drifting, and instead of making a mistake, he does the smartest thing a goalkeeper can do, and he pushes it away from play, outside of traffic, and just pushes it to the sideline. Now, his defense needs to react quicker because Colorado Springs just picks the ball up, carries it right into the top of the 6, and tries to have it go on the near post. You take a look at Zach Ellis-Hayden, Mickey Daly, they need to be able to transition to the defensive side of the ball, coming off of the set piece much faster. Chance like that shouldn't happen.
Ellis-Hayden trying to get around Saeed Robinson, the attacker, with some solid defensive prowess. And able to find Marty Maben in the process, but he gives it away. Del Campo, and it's good work from Kaffa, switching the point of attack and alleviating the pressure. Look at Faywo. Cooper, good ball in. First time hit.
Shot just off.
I'll tell you one thing. Jamal Johnson, I don't think bashful is in his lexicon.
Any opportunity he gets, he's going to try and take advantage of it for sure. Jamal Johnson feeling it tonight, had a couple cracks on goal opening 15 minutes. And a few words with himself as well, thought he should have done better.
32-year-old veteran from Patterson, New Jersey. She had some stints with the Manchester United as well as Blackburn Youth Academies. Jamal Johnson, obviously extremely talented, and has certainly enjoyed his time under Adam Smith in the 2018 season. Shane Malcolm, always a firecracker for Steve Tritchell. Saeed Robinson, and it's taken away by Zach Ellis-Hayden. He's been really impressive in the opening 16 minutes, and really whenever he's been on the field for Fresno this season. Came over from OCB in the offseason as they elected not to participate in the 2018 season, but they will resume operations in League One, if I'm not mistaken, aka Division III. We'll have more on that at halftime as far as the USL rebrand is considered. Robinson on the first time, just drives it across. Christian Chaney with some good technical work, but ran out of real estate and was closed down quickly by Jordan Schweitzer and company. And Devin, while there might not be anything on the line with regards to the postseason, such a good opportunity for youngsters such as Meyer Bevan, for players like Pascal Ibusi, who haven't gotten a ton of time and who maybe have made some mistakes earlier on in the season, to really just leave a good impression at the end of the 2018 season so that they might be able to earn themselves another contract or get more playing time heading into 2019.
That's the biggest thing that you have to take into this match is this is an audition, not just for your coach and the opposing coach, but for everyone around the league. Remember, players consistently moving from one squad to the next. Most of these guys are either on a year contract or 1-1, which is the option for the team on the second year. So either way, your future really isn't solidified past 12, maybe sometimes 18 months. So these guys get an opportunity to come out. You are fighting for your job each and every time you step onto the pitch. And that in the back of your mind is the most important thing. Can you go out right now, put together a solid performance in the final 1, 2, 3 games, whatever it may be that's left on your schedule, to leave that impression that you're referencing to secure work for the future.
Jamal Jack with some work, has to go back for Luis Poati. Maben holding up play for Colorado Springs. And Luke Vercoloni knows that he should have done better there and offers a hand of apology to his comrades. Well, Fresno had a couple of opportunities late on in this season to get some big results against some sides that, in the eyes of maybe some third-party observers in the USL, they shouldn't have. We'll get to that in a moment as Mabin has a crack, but flies into the supporters section. You think back to a 1-0 loss home against Orange County. Think back to a 1-0 result at Swope Park and a 1 result home against Reno. And then really it was the loss at RGV 2-1 that really put the final nail in the Foxes' coffin. But they had some moments where you thought that they might be able to sneak in. That late equalizer from Chaney against T2. A 1-0 win at home against St. Louis FC, a side who they obviously were vying for with the final spot in the Western Conference playoffs, as this one out of the reach of Meyer Bevan. And when you look at the Eastern Conference compared to the West, Devin, there's still a boatload of teams who are mathematically alive on the east side of the Mississippi. As far as the Western Conference is concerned, there's only one team who's not in the top 8 right now who's not eliminated, and that's San Antonio, who's 3 points off of St. Louis FC. Everybody from 10th down through 17th, obviously, has no chance of getting into the playoffs. It just goes to show, I mean, I guess it's more competitive 1 through 12, 1 through 13 in the East as opposed to the West. Is that something you can decipher from all of it? It's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a bold statement. It's a stretch. I get where you're going with it.
Bold statement?
There you go. I get where you're going with that, but it's, you take the compositions between the teams in the East and the West are very different. Eastern teams tend to be a bit more defensively inclined. They'll still possess a boatload of offensive firepower. Cameron Lancaster got his 22nd goal tonight. Ties the record with Matt Fondy, so he's got one more to put himself in that category all alone. FC Cincinnati, we know what they're capable of. Then you look at the defensive side, though. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Charleston Battery, Indy 11, Bethlehem Steel. Those teams are teams that defend really, really well. And with all due respect to everybody in the Western Conference, they just don't have as many teams that defensively carry the same composition uniformly, we'll say, over the course of the season.
Here's Chaney after a good touch with his noggin. And Josh Suggs tracking it down, actually knocks it off of Chaney. And as Devin mentioned before, for his money, is the best outside back in the United Soccer League, showing everybody at home just exactly why that is. It's a good switch of attack from Saeed Robinson. Jordan Burt has acres of space. Burt thought about it, now sends it out wide. Ding towards the back post. Looked like it took a deflection, and Kaffa just helps it along for Ribeiro. Kaffa. Here's Chaney. What a hit! Chaney with an absolute laser and his signature acrobatic celebration. It's a terrific move from the Foxes. And in their penultimate game of the season, off to a terrific start in the 23rd minute. It's 1-0 to the home side.
Adam Smith assembled this roster with quite a few players from the Fresno Fuego. Christian Chaney keeping an eye on his teammate Jamal Johnson, what he's been able to do with his left foot. Talk about the Fresno Fuego. That is absolute fire from outside the box. Lucky number 7 for Chaney on the year. Fresno out and running.
Chaney with an unbelievable strike. What's the first movie that pops into your head whenever you hear that song?
You're gonna laugh at me.
I won't, because I have a feeling it's the same one that I'm thinking of.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
No, that's not it.
Have you even seen that movie?
Of course I've seen Mrs. Doubtfire.
What's yours? Who is it?
Happy Gilmore.
Oh, fair
I was
enough.
expecting Adam Sandler to be draining putts and throwing putters, and oh, that's a nasty challenge. It's a Boosie right in front of the scorer's table. And then Fewo's fired up, as is Adam Smith. continues to be in the ear of the head referee, Lucas Spalla. Meanwhile, Meyer Bevan, the youngster, still down and getting some medical attention.
Adam Smith feels like the referee has lost control of this game. You can hear him got right in the ear of the head referee, as well as the fourth official. Lucas Spalla and his crew saying that we've got it under control. Smith disagrees. This is a very rough challenge on Meyer Bevan on the near touchline, right in front of everyone. And rightfully so, Bussi's gonna go into the book.
Well, it's very easy for these types of games where there's no competitive aspect to it, just besides the 90 minutes in front of us, for them to get out of hand. And the last thing that any of these coaches, any of these players, and really any of the referees should want is an injury at this point in the season, because you're so far past that point, obviously, where you would be able to come back if it were a serious injury for the 2018 season. And it's close enough to 2019 that it could keep you out for a couple of months if it's something serious. It's obviously something that Lucas Spalla needs to keep in mind, and I'm sure he'll try to garner control of this match as we move forward in the 26th minute. Christian Chaney got us started. Fresno looking for more. Fewo. The bicycle kick attempt from Chaney was not far off at all. Christian Chaney. Think he wants a new contract?
Bicycle kick just missed.
Pulling all the tricks out of the bag on this one. Christian Chaney doing some very impressive things in the middle of the box. This play continues the other direction. We'll come back to that.
Shane Malcolm saying see you later to Bradley Camden Fewo. Here's Vercoloni. Finding Josh Suggs. Calm, cool, and collected. Robinson. Great ball for Suggs. Knocks it across. Maven on the first time. Didn't have nearly enough on it. And Rainish collects. We'll take another look at that acrobatic play from Christian Chaney.
We saw what he could do with his left foot. He goes to the right this time. That's impressive. Moise Puati had nothing to say about this. Bussi just gives it away right at the top of the six.
He was falling down trying to set up for that bicycle kick too. He was not on balance and he did not hit that cleanly. Chaney with his 7th goal of the season just a few moments ago. Here's Ribeiro on the turn. Chaney oozing with confidence now. Well, the good news for Fresno is that they've scored first. Saw the numbers courtesy of our outstanding producer, Ryan Rose, when the opposition scores first. And meanwhile, no losses for the Foxes when they're on the score sheet prior to their opponent. Jamal Johnson waiting for somebody to step to him. Gonna take the space given. Johnson for Ellis Hayden. Schweitzer looked like he got a touch to it, and it's actually gonna be a foul on Ellis Hayden in the end, and Devin Kerr simply loving the call right next to me.
That's a weak foul. Good numbers for Fresno, though. Score first, undefeated, 8-0-6. Gotta respect that. They're playing their 33rd game of the season. You ready for this? 26 of their games that they've played in have been decided by a goal or less. I mean, that gives you an idea of exactly how competitive they've been over the course of this season.
Cooper, it's actually a terrific block from Schweitzer. And Meyer Bevan not happy with Cooper that he didn't distribute. Bevan had that terrific opportunity after the strike from Jamal Johnson that they hit the post.
Fans, earlier, there was a 51-50 yellow card issued to Colorado Switchbacks FC defender number 3, Pascal Ibasi.
Watch it. Lucas. He's the one that attacked him at
And that's interesting, Devin, because our fourth official is actually right next to one of our crowd mics, and you could hear him saying, "Watch it, Lucas, watch it, Lucas." And there is a look at our head referee, Lucas Spalla.
So Spalla's talking to Vercoloni, but you could actually hear the fourth, and he was saying 23-3. Shane Malcolm and Ken Mfewo doing some battle. Those two matched up against each other tonight. They had a nice tussle early on, and that's continued.
I don't think fans really understand how much communication goes on between these refs. It's not simply to just check in and say, "Hey, how are you doing? How's the family? How's the kids?" It's, you know,
you're ridiculous.
The fourth official isn't just there to put up the scoreboard. Constantly communicating with the head referee, the assistant referee always communicating with the head referee. We saw a terrific special on NBC Sports where Rebecca Lowe, Robbie Musto, and Robbie Earl broke down just an awesome, awesome sequence from the FA Cup final. And they came with an acronym that went viral, DOGZO, the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. And it was just amazing during the run of play, as this ball whipped in and Rainish able to garner it. During the run of play, as there's so much going on, in the heat of the moment, these refs are still able to keep their cool at the highest level and be able to talk with each other and say what could happen, what does happen, and how we're going to react to it afterwards.
The removal of emotion is the biggest factor there, because you have to remember, they're putting in a serious workout. End-to-end, both sides constantly changing shape, chasing the run of play, and then you have to communicate with the players, you have to communicate with your linesman and the fourth official, and to be the moderator, of both teams in that fashion, and then the coaches too. I mean, especially when you get fiery ones like an Adam Smith, and Steve Tritsch can get involved. We've seen him get quite heated as well. To be able to manage all of that is such a difficult thing to do. USL actually put out,
as this free kick whipped in and won by Jamal Jack
a few weeks back, a review on exactly what goes on with regard to the USL referees and their performance. We're saying how they start off with a score of 80, and in order to have a passing rate, you have to have 68 or higher. Every single match, there is a statistician, we'll call it, reviewing all three referees' performances, and they get done, and sometimes they'll have pizza or soda or whatever it may be. They bring them off the pitch, immediately go into the room, and they discuss exactly what went on. Sometimes they're saying, here's what I saw. They wait for a response from the head referee, but each and every time you are critiqued, because just like everybody else that's out on this field, this is a job as well.
Schweitzer, very deceptive central midfielder. The trait that most in that position need to have to be able to survive and connect the dots for their respective side. Here's Hamilton, on loan from Colorado Rapids. Jordan Burt looking to take on Fewo. Good matchup here. Burt drawing the double team now. Kaffa coming over, veteran from Argentina. Colorado Springs will start over again. Ibusi. It's a low fizzing ball. Ellis Hayden got a touch to it, but just dipped his toe, and as a result, it's Suggs. He lets it fly. But again, it's into the supporters section.
Fresno fans, there's nothing better than being part of the originals. Now is your chance to renew. The season ticket renewals are on now. Stop by the courtesy booth for more information. Also, while you're there, enter our raffle for your chance to win an inaugural autographed Fresno FC jersey. The courtesy booth is located behind section 121 and 122. The winner will be selected at the 80th minute.
Chaney, good work to find Kaffa, the skipper. Bevan, back for Kaffa, but Schweitzer beats him there. Burt, just a toe poke to it, finding Vercoloni. It's enough though, and it sends the visitors on their way for a counter. Burt, around Fewo, but Ribeiro claims it. Pedro Ribeiro, finding Cooper. How's that for a tackle from Ibusi? Timed that one right.
Quality tackle in general, yet alone from someone who just got a yellow card 12 minutes ago. Shows confidence from the center back. Cameroonian not afraid to step over, throw his body around. Good overlapping run. Alex Cooper there.
It's a Zonos corner kick sponsored by Central Valley Toyota Dealers.
Jamal Johnson.
Fresno, let's go.
Towards the back post. Nodded back in. And Moati comes away with it. A few players hit the deck. One from each side. Medical attention being waved on. One of them is Sam Hamilton for Colorado Springs. The other is Christian Chaney. Puati was slow to get up as well.
Good step by the goalkeeper. Sometimes you have to put yourself in these situations, take command of your box. Ball just kind of up in no man's land and no one really challenging to go get it. Puati steps out, takes one of his own players down in the process. I'm just going to take a good look and make sure that Sam Hamilton, who's dropped deeper in the midfield alongside Schweitzer, make sure they're okay. And there's a good look from Chaney. Has a good laugh about it. Seems all right.
Here's a look at Steve Trichu. Outstanding coach who has nothing but the utmost of respect from the rest of the coaches in the Western Conference, or at least the ones that Devin and I have talked to. And was actually the first ever American to participate in the UEFA Champions League back in the 90s with Sparta
Sam
Prague.
Hamilton from Colorado.
And obviously had a terrific career with the U.S. men's national team, who actually has a couple of friendlies coming up against Colombia and Peru. Unfortunately, Tyler Adams and the Wonder Boy, Christian Pulisic, will be unavailable.
Get a bird's eye view of exactly what went on. Puati stepping out, just comes up over the top. And it looks like when he did go up, his knee, not only once, but twice on the follow-up.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Just colliding with Hamilton.
And he actually had a bit of a gash as his manager Trichu looks on. Always remember to wash your hands, Dev.
My bride-to-be makes me carry the antibacterial, what's that called? Hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer.
Big word, yeah.
She makes you do a lot of things, huh?
Yep.
But you're enjoying some alone time right now.
Yep.
She's having a good old time. We're not going to say what city she's in.
There you go.
But there is a USL team in that city. Is she going to a game? That'd be a fun trip.
Well, you and I already destroyed that town. Had the opportunity to take our talents elsewhere earlier this year.
Here's Hamilton. Able to fend off Ribeiro. Shane Malcolm now. Looking to take on Feo. Malcolm towards the byline, gets it across. It's good work again from the Fresno back line. Jordan Bird after the 1-2 with Malcolm. Robinson up for the header, challenging Ellis Hayden. Robinson again, going for the curler.
Good shout from Adam Smith on the touchline. You can hear him asking for Kafa to get involved. That's kind of been the missing link, if you will, for Fresno in the opening 40 minutes or so. We referenced Ellis Hayden on the right side. Kafa slow to get involved in the run of play and really challenge. That's why you've seen some half chances from Colorado Springs from distance. Fortunately enough for Fresno, they haven't really materialized in anything else.
Here's Malcolm. For Coloni, great first touch. Trying to double team, just trying to win something. Somehow it stayed in play. And Cooper thumps it in the opposite direction. Chaney trying to hold it up. He did well just to get a foot on it, but Meyer Bevan was running in the opposite direction. Hamilton. Schweitzer. Now it's Shane Malcolm. Clever little touch. Back for Malcolm, out wide for Robinson. And probably one too many passes. And Robinson, you could see after making a mess of that other shot, was hesitant to take that on the first time. Usually a striker who's never lacking in confidence, but not feeling himself tonight at Chuck Chaney. Malcolm, always feeling himself. Couple of quick dances. Hamilton, he's gonna let it fly. That's a rare sighting. And Schweitzer will collect. Good pressure from Steve Tritchu's side as we're in the 40th minute, knocking on the door of the halftime whistle. Bird couldn't quite corral it, but it's out of the reach of Chaney. More sustained pressure from the visitors. Chaney with the lone goal in this one. Back in the 23rd minute, Juan Pablo Caffa with the assist. Jordan Burt, another early delivery. Del Campo wins it. Adam Smith encouraging Pedro Ribeiro to move the ball. As Caffa finding Jamal Johnson, referee says play on. Cooper wins it back and knocks it out wide for Ellis Hayden. Can the Foxes find one more before the half? Good ball in. And it looked like a nasty collision again. It's Meyer Bevan in the middle of it. Pascal Labusi getting some props from his keeper as Meyer Bevan
Visit the Fresno
thought that
FC
should be a
team
Fresno
store
corner.
in the southwest corner of the concourse and behind section 119 today to get your
You're going to get a much better look exactly what went on, Bevan. That does come off of Boosie pretty blatantly. It should be going into the corner in a heartbeat. Meyer Bevan is going to need an ice bath or two after this one. He has taken some serious knocks in this opening first half.
Were you one of those guys who enjoyed the ice bath?
Wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I didn't really have a problem with it. I knew the reckoning was near, so I just got in, threw myself right in. I always hated the people that move their legs around or move their arms around because it made it colder.
Malcolm, Ribeiro getting stuck in. Malcolm staying with it and winning the free kick. He was trying to go quickly, but Ribeiro simply would not let it unfold. The magic spray is out from Lucas Spalla, and a good free kick opportunity for Colorado Springs Switchbacks Football Club right before the halftime break. And if you think back to that June 23rd meeting at Widener, Devin, a free kick from similar distance, maybe the location wasn't exactly similar, but if it's Shane Malcolm, Lady Luck can't be on his side twice, can she?
You better believe Suggs wants this on his left foot right now. This is prime territory for Josh Suggs. We've seen him go from this angle multiple times. And though Malcolm won last time, this looks really good. And what you'll see with Suggs here, he's very interesting the way that he approaches the ball. Right now, very head on, and he'll almost come back around it. He takes a step or two to his right and then comes back across the ball. Though look at Schweitzer, he feels like he wants to get involved too.
It'll be Suggs to hit it. It goes far post, and Rainish handles it cleanly. That was sort of a hybrid of a shot and a cross, maybe hoping that somebody would get on the end of it. Never had enough pace to beat Rainish in the end.
He's just putting it in the mixer, expecting someone to run into that gray area that you're referencing. Unfortunately, he had other ideas. None of his guys really pushed the pace to get involved in the run of play. Another good look at that run up from Suggs. Difficult for the goalkeeper to guess exactly what's going on here. Nice pace to the back post, but either got to pull a little bit off it or put more on it and really challenge Kyle Rainish. Wasted opportunity by Colorado Springs.
You can see that's what Suggs and Malcolm were discussing prior to the free kick, was where Malcolm was going to be stationed, just sort of let it run through. And screening Rainish. Chaney nods it down for Meyer Bevan. One touch around Abusi. Bevan still with it. Kaffa. Lack of movement from Fresno in the final third has been apparent. Their goal from Chaney more or less coming from a counterattack. As Ellis Hayden tripped up from behind by Saeed Robinson. And this will be one of the last plays of the first half. It's been a relatively clean first half. Would expect probably about 3 minutes of stoppage. Ellis Hayden gets a corner out of it. And wouldn't you know it, Devin, for about the third time in my life I was right. And the word down on pitch side is 3 minutes to be added on here in the first half.
It's time for another Fresno FC corner kick sponsored
love
by
that dead
Central
air.
Valley Toyota dealers. So Fresno, let's go.
Good ball in, Chaney elevated. Johnson hits it, but hits it wide.
Tell you what, these center backs are not afraid to challenge whatsoever.
There will be 3
Abusi
minutes.
throwing his right around quite a
of
few
stoppage
times
time.
here.
3 minutes of stoppage
Opening
time.
portion of this match, yellow card for his efforts in the 25th. Jamal Jack, a couple of game-saving tackles. Some excellent opportunities for Fresno when they've gotten down into the final third. Jamal Jack, including most recently on that corner, just steps up, uses that big frame. Just able to clear the ball off the line. Forgot something.
Bevan, great little touch. Bevan pulls it back. And Poati comfortable in the end. Burton Coloni, little two-man game. Hamilton, it's crisp passing from Colorado Springs. And right on cue, Zach Ellis Hayden stepping in and breaking up the rhythm. Schweitzer. And just because Lucas Spalla blows his halftime whistle doesn't mean that you need to step away from the screen. Some interesting topics coming up during the halftime show. Talk about another attendance record being broken. More on the rebranding of the USL. And oh so much more. And that's going to do it for the first half. Christian Chaney's goal in the 23rd minute was a spectacular strike, and it is the difference maker right now. The simple ball from Juan Pablo Kaffa. Chaney took it on the first time. Kyle Rainish has been good enough in the first 45 minutes to deem himself halfway to a clean sheet. Devin Kerr, your thoughts on the first half?
Some quality chances by both squads. Fresno FC definitely had the better run of play in the final third. Some brilliance individually from Chaney. Saw his fantastic goal. Also had a nice bicycle kick right at the top of the six. Jamal Johnson had a few cracks. Colorado Springs, though, is in this game. They've had some good looks. Steve Tritchu makes some moves at halftime, get his boys back in this game.
Well, we mentioned before, both of these teams eliminated from playoff contention, but we have seen some free-flowing football in the first 45 minutes. Heading to the halftime show, 1-0 to Fresno.
La marca El Mexicano ofrece su mejor calidad y frescura para juntar a la familia.
Big intermission here at Chuck Chaney Park. Christian Chaney and the Foxes with a 1-0 lead over Colorado Springs Switchbacks in the penultimate match of the season for Adam Smith's side. And Devin, some good stuff going on in the Fresno world of football. And for the youngsters, Chevron Soccer Academy saw about 200 boys and girls from the ages of 9 through 18 from the surrounding Fresno area be able to join some former MLS players, some current Fresno FC players, and get a look at exactly what some of the steps that these players might be going through in order to reach the level that these youngsters may want to attain at some point in time. And you know, it's a great little initiative from Fresno, from Chevron and the Open Goal Project. And I know for me, being able to go to those sorts of camps where there were ex-players, current players, coaches alike, it was just so beneficial, and obviously it was a lot of fun, but also it just put you in that environment where all you were doing was playing football, and you got a real sense of what it was like to sort of be a professional because that's all you were doing. Any good camps that you were a part of?
For sure. I'll give you a little bit of background on this because I like what they did to incorporate everything. They used what's called STEM, which stood for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they brought all of that into play. So you're not just going out and going through the motions. You're getting an idea, what velocity am I hitting this at? Look at the spin ratio. And they were tying that into the players that were there. Sam Howard was there, Ronnie Argueta. So Augustine Cesar. It's really cool to go up against pros that you know. MLS in 1996 actually came to South Florida, did their preseason training down here, so I got the opportunity to go and see Alexi Lalas, Tony Miola, the who's who of what United States soccer was, and like you said, to be able to get the opportunity to rub shoulders with big names like that at such a young age, it leaves an impression on you that 20, 30 years later, you're still remembering.
Well, you saw there's going to be a little Chevron soccer tournament tomorrow, and meanwhile, for the Foxes and for the ones who are currently professionals, not necessarily the youngsters, their final match of the season is going to be at home, which is the good news. The bad news, not much riding on the line, but they could have an opportunity to play spoilers against the Monarchs, who finally were able to get a result, but it could come down to Devin, the possibility of the Monarchs not even getting a home game.
Not in a top 4 position, and that's crazy. So Fresno can have some fun. Keep an eye, though that is the last game of their regular season, November 14th. They will be hosting Club Leon, the talented Liga MX squad that is such a storied tradition. They will be coming in, so that'll be a fun friendly about a month after the end of the season.
Well, we're going to toss it over to some highlights from the USL as well as another video of the rebrand. And when we come back, we'll dive deeper into what exactly the USL is going to look like in the future. Let's take a look. Terrific stuff from the USL as always, and as we take a look at the rebranding, really we'll just put it in simple terms. The USL is now going to be known as the USL Championship. That's going to be the highest level. D3, which was already coming into play, that's going to be known now as League One. And then the big thing, Devin, and something that when it came about, you and I were texting each other immediately, was that the PDL is now going to be known as League Number 2, and almost every player, whether it's in the USL or in the MLS, at some point has had a cup of coffee with one of those teams, and it's proved to pay dividends.
Kids that have been at the youth level and an opportunity to play up in PDL, now League 2, or guys in college. Many a time you'll see them finish their college season, they go directly into PDL, and again, it's just another progression that gives these guys an excellent pathway to the pros.
Well, we're talking about the future, but what we really should be focusing on is the present. Devin, attendance. I mean, it's been a while since we've had an attendance part in the news and notes just because there's been so much focus on the postseason, on Haji Berry, Cameron Lancaster, you name it. But we continue to break attendance records, 2.5 million in attendance overall on this season. Playoffs, and more playoffs, Devin.
You start with the attendance. Everybody's quick to jump on the FC Cincinnati in Nippert, or you take a look at Papa Murphy's Park in Sacramento Republic. Don't sleep on everybody else. All these other teams, Las Vegas Lights are turning 6, 7, 8,000 a game. Everybody else is following suit. It's great for the sport. Playoffs. I am so excited for the next 2 weeks. You and I are talking about it. Every single game has a meaning to it.
Well, we'll take a look at Wednesday's schedule. St. Louis and Tulsa, and after St. Louis's brutal loss to Phoenix 2-0 in the Valley of the Sun, they really need 3 points. And, you know, no disrespect to Tulsa, but I'm sure Anthony Pulis isn't hating the fact that it's Tulsa coming to town and maybe not Orange County at this point in the season. Seattle Sounders 2 and Colorado Springs Switchbacks, not much meaning behind that game. And then Vegas and Phoenix, that's going to be huge. You're going to be on the call with that with Mike Watts. And Phoenix, that's the game that they're making up with Orange County because Phoenix has a game in hand. And if they are to get 3 points out of that and their 3 points against Reno, the game against T2 could very well be win and you're the #1 seed in the West.
The last time Phoenix went to Las Vegas Lights, it was a struggle to get 3 points there. Their head coach, Rick Schantz, said, you know what? I'm good with going in. No fouls, no injuries. I'll get the draw and I'll get out of here. He was happy to be able to get the win, but it's going to be much more difficult this time around.
And how about the expansion in the United Soccer League? Hartford Athletic, that's the one that jumps off the page because Jimmy Nielsen is going to be heading that team. And how about El Paso Locomotive FC. Birmingham actually was voted the best crest in the USL, and they haven't even played a season yet. Devin, how do we feel about the choo-choo train coming in?
Interesting name, the Locomotive for El Paso. I respect it, but they've got some quality there. Omar Salgado, who's currently on loan with the Las Vegas Lights, will be stepping in for El Paso. He's had a nice run of it. Tim Howard in the ownership group for Memphis 901 FC. Fantastic things. They've actually already gone across the pond to England and bought a League One team. So they're making moves. They haven't even stepped on the pitch yet.
And, of course, the USL Game of the Week between Las Vegas and Phoenix, the final game of the week in the 2018 campaign. Can't even believe that we've made it this far. Las Vegas, first ever year, didn't end up making the postseason. I think after the first 6 or 7 weeks, everybody sort of knew that that was going to be the case. Phoenix, meanwhile, if you were to say 2 weeks ago when they had this sort of opportunity would just win and you're in as the #1 seed, would you have thought that they were going to be able to pull it off and run the table?
It's difficult because of all the moving pieces they've had. They're trying to figure out their back line. A couple injuries. Jason Johnson's floating in and out. And now you bring in someone who hasn't been injured, but he disrupts the lineup. Didier Drogba back up top in that #9 position. Chris Cortez having an all-world season, having to take the back seat to the king. Let's see how that works out.
Well, that's going to do it for this portion of the halftime show. And when we come back, first half highlight stats, and of course, second half kickoff. Don't go anywhere.
Jason Johnson! You've got to be kidding me! Shot ripped in! Alex Mendoza! Goal! Mendoza! Sunday the other way! Oh, what a goal!
And what a world-class goal that is from Didier Drogba!
Pure brilliance from Ricardo Pereira.
Krasinski a diving stop!
Must-see TV. Almost set for the second half, and of course that means we are going to turn back the clocks and give you a look at what went down in the first 45 minutes. Tyler Terrence, along with Devin Kerr and Dev, in the early moments, Fresno had some good opportunities. Alex Cooper being challenged by Jamal Johnson with a rip off the post, and then Meyer Bevan. It was a tough one to handle, and probably should have given him a little bit more credit for even getting a touch to it. And then how about this from Christian Chaney, 23rd minute, Puati was chasing after like he was going to be able to get it, but there was no shot.
A lot of left-footed talent on the field for Fresno today. Kendon Fewo playing left back. Alex Cooper moves up. So they put Jamal Johnson on the right. Gives him the opportunity to cut in. Had a couple opening opportunities. Rang the woodwork the one time. Christian Chaney got involved and unleashes from the top of the box. And then the confidence builder continued to go. Ball just deflects right to the top of the six. Tries to pull the makeshift bicycle. Unfortunately, just outside of the reach of Puati and that far post. And the better opportunities were definitely on the side of the Foxes. Colorado Springs did have something to say here and there, though nothing too threatening for Kyle Rainish. Interesting change for Steve Tritchu. We did see Sam Hamilton go down, and they're going to bring on Carson Hanlon, who came over from Real Monarchs to help things out in the middle of the park, trying to get some control.
So it's Hanlon for Hamilton, and it looks like Hamilton is still receiving some medical attention at the bottom of your screen. The athletic trainer. Fresno looking for their first win since August the 18th. And just saying those words, Dev, I mean, it's tough to be able to make a case for the postseason if you're not going to get 3 points in the month of September. Just can't happen.
Got to find a way to get results down the stretch, especially when, although different than the Eastern Conference, everybody in the West has continued their push. The Eastern Conference, you saw teams like Charlotte Independence, you and I were chatting about this, where everybody in front of them kind of took their foot off the gas pedal a bit and gave the Independents a lot of opportunities to get back into it. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh Riverhounds had other ideas in that situation, and some other teams coming down the stretch. Fresno couldn't really get it in high gear. Never got that momentum they were looking for towards the end of the season. We referenced their results over the course of this year and the up and down statistics. How 26 of their games have been 1 goal or fewer.
Here's Bevan the other way. He's onside. Meyer Bevan cutting it back. Bevan still with it, laying it off. Kept low, and it sneaks past Pawati. It's a second for Fresno. And it's Alex Cooper who's the beneficiary of some great hold-up play from Meyer Bevan. The Foxes feeling themselves early in the second half. It's 2-0.
Just going through the motions on the statistics for the Foxes, 26 one-goal games. And in that route, it's been 3, 11, and 12. Well, rest easy, Foxes. You've got a 2-goal lead. Good movement by Meyer Bevan. Moves himself to the right. Wait for that trailing run right at the top of the box. This is just miscommunication between Pawati and his back line. Frustrated with his center backs and his vision. Possibly a bit of a deflection coming towards Pawati. Regardless, Alex Cooper will take it, finding the back of the net, doubling their lead.
Smoke bombs are out. Everybody's smiling and having a great time at Chuck Chaney Park, with the exception of Steve Tritchu and the rest of the Colorado Springs Switchbacks Football Club. As Alex Cooper joining in on the scoring act. Cooper with his 3rd goal of the season.
Substitution by Colorado, entering the game, number 7.
And for Meyer Bevan, able to get his first assist of 2018, albeit in the second last game of the season. And it's great to see Cooper and Bevan enjoying themselves out there, because in the first half there was a lot of miscommunication between the two, and there was one instance where Cooper let one fly from about 25 yards out, and Bevan was really frustrated with Cooper. Bevan feeling like probably should have been given the ball. But they're letting bygones be bygones and now helping each other out. And football, of course, is a team game, as it's offsides on Colorado Springs and a free kick for Fresno. Now, Devin, while we're on the topic of the postseason, and really on October 5th, what else is going to be on everybody's mind, is I'll hold that thought for just a moment as Christian Chaney is dispossessed by Jamal Jack. Swope and St. Louis currently sitting in the 7th and 8th spot in the Western Conference. San Antonio 3 points off of St. Louis in the 9 seed. And then over in the East, North Carolina, Nashville level on 44 points. Ottawa just sitting above them with 1 point in the 7th spot, and 1 point above Ottawa is Bethlehem at 46. All those teams with either 1, 2, or 3 games left. Bethlehem, Ottawa, and North Carolina respectively. So my question for you, Mr. Devin Kerr, is this.
Shoot.
Is the top 8 we see?
No.
Okay.
I'll finish that for you in a heartbeat.
All right.
Definitely not.
All right. Who do you like in the East?
Ottawa, NCFC out, Nashville, Red Bull 2 in.
Wow.
Yep.
What happened to your philosophy of I'd rather already have the work done? Because
Oh, don't get me wrong. They still have to go get results.
No, I know that, but
Just the quality of the squads overall.
Well, I would agree with you, but at this point in time, North Carolina is in a better position than Nashville. They have the tiebreaker right now with 12 wins, Nashville only with 11. And you're going to say Ottawa's out too on 45. And North Carolina has to play Louisville on Tuesday with a makeup game. That was one of the first games of the season that had to be rescheduled for October 9th. Here's Cooper, fresh off of his goal. Good ball in. Won by Jamal Jack. Cooper showing great strength, however, just bullying Jordan Bird off the ball. Cooper again. Cooper! And Puati handles it.
Everybody from Fresno feeling it from distance today, aren't they? Cooper with the goal right at the start of the second half. He, Chaney, Jamal Johnson, all of them having goes from distance.
Good challenge from Jack, still loose, and the foul's going to go against Cooper. He lost his balance and went barreling into Jamal Jack, and it was Cooper who actually caught the brunt end of it.
He's actually laying on a big piece of turf. There's a good look right near his left foot. He fell really awkwardly coming down.
Tore up half the outfield.
Ooh, that's rough. And then coming down on him as well, Jamal Jack. It's not the challenge you want to catch.
Well, Dev, I'll tell you what, North Carolina and New York Red Bulls, too, who are sitting on opposite sides of the playoff cutoff line, both with 3 matches left, both have to go Saturday, Tuesday, and they're playing each other this weekend. At Cary, Wake Met Soccer Park, which also is home to the CONCACAF Women's Championship right now in World Cup qualifiers. Who do you like in that match?
Going 2 L's for NCFC.
Well, you can almost guarantee that they're going to lose
Louisville
at Slugger with the form that they're in right now. They had that one little stretch where they couldn't win a game. They're done with that. Hack was not going to let that go on for more than a couple of weeks.
See, I'm more interested in the race in the Western Conference when you take a look, because when you look at the playoff line there, 8th and 9th, St. Louis and San Antonio respectively, both those squads 2 games left. Both those squads have home games.
Chaney was knocked off balance by Suggs.
And both of them are taking on teams that are at the bottom of the barrel. St. Louis is going to take on Tulsa and OKC. Their season's over. San Antonio going to take on Las Vegas and RGV. I mean, the path couldn't be easier, in theory. Now, those teams can put in some serious efforts.
Yeah, but not on the road, especially those 4 teams. I mean, Vegas, with all due respect to what goes on over in Sin City, they're a mess on the road.
Agreed.
RGV, more of the same.
Agreed.
Tulsa.
Look at you and I getting along here.
It's amazing. Nice. Yeah. Tulsa, this has just not been their year. OKC is probably the best team on the road out of those 4.
And I said coming into about halfway through the season, I still think it rings true, though it's difficult. I felt St. Louis was going to be out, and Darren Powell and San Antonio would be in.
St. Louis have had some great results down the stretch, and they probably deserve the draw out of that Phoenix game.
Was just going to say the 2-0 was not an accurate depiction of what went on in that match.
No. They fought extremely tough. I'll tell you what, the injury to Wall Fall in that game and him having to be taken off completely changed it.
30 seconds before, cracked the woodwork from about 35 yards out, and that was, you're right, it took the wind out of their sails.
Easy on the 35. It was about 25. Easy on that.
I measured. It was 31 and a half. But it wind out of their sails, and they were never able to recover. And Colorado Springs going to try and recover here. Josh Suggs getting the run of play is a good look at the main man, Steve Tritchu, having a few words with Jordan Schweitzer. See how Schweitzer's going to get along with Hanlon in the middle of the park.
Comes in from Suggs, probably one of the worst deliveries we've seen from him on the year, as Jamal Johnson shot ends up going wide. Or excuse me, Saeed Robinson. And it looks like we're going to have a Taylor Hunter signing.
Interesting substitution for Tritschu.
I was just about to say him coming on and replacing Luke Vercoloni.
Well, Suggs will step up now. He'll play on the outside of the left in the midfield area, and Hunter will tuck in behind him.
Number 6, Taylor Hunter. For number 4, Luke Vercoloni.
Ribeiro going for the chip. Trying to do his best Frank Teyu impression. What's your goal of the year so far?
There's been some good ones. Tayu's had a nice one. Cameron Lancaster on his chip against Red Bull 2 from midfield. That was impressive. Mono Ledesma has had a couple arguments in there, but
it's got to be
Jason Johnson.
It's got to be.
It was an insane strike. And for me, it's the entire body of work of the play itself. All the other goals, don't forget Kenny Walker, FC Cincinnati.
That is probably, that's my number 2. That's the closest one for me.
It's quite close as well. Against the run of play, midfield, side volley, that was impressive. But Jason Johnson, the build-up, the ball down in the byline, he's contorting his body against the run of play, having to bring himself back and then still put it on frame. That's difficult to do in general, yet alone the fashion that he was able to put it with that pace, upper 90. It's a FIFA goal.
Jamal Johnson getting stuck in with Jordan Schweitzer. That's definitely a foul.
It's not a card.
No.
Carded him.
I mean, take it up with Lucas Spalla. Don't take it up with me. Hanlon's going to hit it. Oh, it was good movement from Colorado Springs, who are looking to get back into this one. Their last win coming against the Monarchs. In a month's time, listen to this, Colorado Springs in a month beat the Monarchs at Widener at home, lost to Los Dos in Carson 3-1, drew RGV at home, lost to Phoenix at home 2-1 in a game which they probably should have gotten a draw out of, and then beat the Monarchs at Zion's.
Topsy-turvy a bit, isn't it?
Can you explain that to me?
No, neither can Tritschu, unfortunately.
They had some bad losses in July. Lost at RGV 1-0 as Shane Malcolm going for the curler. Rainish with a terrific save.
Make some noise.
And probably one of his swan songs of the 2018 campaign and of his career. Terrific save.
Seems everybody on the field wants to get involved in the highlight reel. Everybody going from distance. Malcolm, the decision maker last time out, had something to say from the set piece opportunity. This time goes with the run of play. Solid strike.
Visitors earn themselves a corner. Suggs. Schweitzer. Waited a bit too long. Schweitzer again. Pulled it back a little bit too far away from goal. Hunter just clips it in. Fresno wisely see it out of play.
Okay, fans, it's time for you to be a winner as we announce tonight's Sports Clips Row of the Match. The winning row is from section 118, row 12. Congratulations, you've won a free haircut courtesy of Sports Clips Haircuts. Hang tight. Fuego will bring by your prize shortly.
Looks like Adam Smith is calling for Noah Verhoeven. And that'll be the substitution of his choice in a few moments as we've eclipsed the hour mark. Chaney taken down from behind. Meyer Bevan sends it out wide for Cooper. Alex Cooper spinning a Boosie like a top and able to win a corner in the process. Or, excuse me. At least I thought it was a corner.
Yeah, caught a last-minute deflection off Cooper and went over the end line. Colorado Springs smart to play out. This is something that really plays into their hands to go in transition. Fresno not very impressive in the transitional game in the first half. Better here in the second. But if Colorado Springs are going to get back into this match, they're going to have to first down, take down a Fresno team that's never given up a lead like this. Number two, they've got to go in transition faster.
Great effort from Bird. It's denied before it can get to Rainish. Schweitzer. Kaffa, good work to win it back. Surprising, Fresno has been very good and have a 2-0 lead, but we really haven't seen much from Juan Pablo Kaffa as his teammates have done a great job of asserting themselves and making their presence felt. Although you could argue that Colorado Springs have probably had the better of the play for large portions of this match as Cooper trying to pick somebody out. The first time hit from Bevan over the bar.
Chances starting to come for Colorado Springs. They're finding the spaces they want. And Fresno just counteracting a bit. The first outside of the goal. Good chance that we've seen from Fresno here in the second half. Colorado Springs have gone to a three-back system. Gabusi will slide to the right. Jack will sit in the middle. And Taylor Hunter came on. That'll allow not only Suggs to step up on the left side, but Jordan Burt has gone into the middle of the field to help out as well. Try and get some numbers in there and get that counter-attacking punch going against Fresno.
Malcolm. Hamlin only finding a dark colored jersey. And Zach Ellis-Hayden. Calls for a handball. Not going to be given, and Adam Smith letting everybody know exactly how he feels. Wanted to ask you this, how do you feel about the sort of business casual with the scarf? And I'm gonna give my 2 cents, and somewhere I saw it earlier in the day while I was doing some prep work for a different game.
Caleb Porter used to do it all the time, but it's not my particular favorite, we'll say.
Okay.
Respect him a lot, just not my favorite look.
Corner kick coming up for Colorado Springs quickly. Was watching actually some video on the court hearings in Columbus with regards to, you know, hashtag save the crew, and they're trying to use the Art Modell law from 1995 when the Browns snuck off to Baltimore. We'll get back to that in a second as Josh Suggs tees up another corner. This delivery right into the hands of Rainish. And you saw an abundant people in the courtroom in Columbus dressed in a suit with the Columbus Crew scarves around their neck. I think it's a sharp look.
Fair enough. You're entitled to your opinion. That's a different situation than
it is a different. I know. But would you say it's more fitting to have it in a courtroom hearing where you're trying to save a franchise from moving halfway across the country, or on the pitch of a soccer field?
If you're in a courtroom with your team's scarf on, you've got some serious issues. Not saying from a personal standpoint, saying that things probably aren't looking up too well.
Well, I'll tell you what, the ruling is holding it up. I mean, Austin has already decided that they decided where the stadium's going to be once they get the go-ahead, but if the judge doesn't agree with the MLS and with the Columbus Crew, as Shane Malcolm is dispossessed, and it should be another corner for Colorado Springs, and it will be, because the MLS is trying to make the argument that it's unconstitutional, the Art Modell law, which was put in place after the Browns went to Baltimore, and it was sort of prohibiting Ohio sports teams from sneaking off without giving enough notice to the state and to the public. It could very well be something that is dragged on, but it's also something that the judge is probably going to rule as unconstitutional, because that's what it just seems like. Now the corner kick coming in.
For job security purposes, I'm going to politely remove myself.
Okay,
from any of that.
You can. Bevan won't be able to get there. And look who's defending, Saeed Robinson.
They always say in our situation, you never know who's watching or listening, and I feel like I would probably get myself in more trouble.
That's the difference between my job and your job, is that I can give the facts, and then it's you has to give the opinion.
My opinion, exactly.
Seven-time Liga MX champion Club Leon on November 14th.
And there's the announcement from the public address announcer that Club Leon will be making their way to Chuck Chaney, and we've seen a number of Liga MX teams come through to USL sides. Remember OKC Energy FC taking on Pachuca, who are actually just fresh off of their CONCACAF Champions League trophy. Jordan Burt with a nice little stutter step. Towards the back post, Suggs gets ahead to it, but it's straight up. Jordan Burt putting on the moves. Schweitzer may have been trying to lay it off. Suggs now after a fortuitous bounce. And indeed, it will be Noah Verhoeven who's getting set to come on as we're knocking on the door of the 70th minute. Fresno on their way to their first win since August the 18th, in which they beat St. Louis 1-0. And what was really a massive win, and what could have been the start of a late playoff push, but then winless in their next 9. Schweitzer, Malcolm. Too many blue jerseys in front of him. Ribeiro, springing Chaney the other way. Puati able to get there. He's claiming that Jamal Jack was the one who touched it back for Moise Puati, but Devin Kerr wagging his finger, not agreeing.
fans, stay up to date with Fresno FC by visiting our official website at FresnoFC.com.
And it will be Noah Verhoeven, the teenager.
All the match day information, and don't forget to purchase
from Canada
your
coming on and replacing Bradley Camden Faywo.
Fresno FC at FresnoFC.com.
And Verhoeven has been impressive in the appearances that he's been able to make this season.
Adam's got to be happy with Kenan Faywa on the left side. Did a good job really shutting down Shane Malcolm. Verhoeven will step in. Most assuredly, Cooper will drop back in to that left back position. Verhoeven will step up in front of him.
Jamal Johnson with a great first touch. Johnson around the first defender. Jamal Johnson! He's got his! It's 3-0 to the Foxes. Just 20 minutes remain. And they're on their way to 3 points. As it's the New Jersey native with a terrific move and an even better finish. And the handshake, not too bad either.
Jamal Johnson was the one that got this started early on in the first half. A couple strikes from distance, one of which on that big left foot, bringing the woodwork. Persistence will pay off for Jamal Johnson. Christian Chaney got his, Alex Cooper got his. Jamal Johnson coming all the way across the pitch from the right side, gets it on that left foot, but cuts it across his body to really fool Puati and find the back of the net. Fresno gets their third. Jamal Johnson has been absolutely fantastic over the course of this match.
The move on Pascal Abusi, it almost seemed too easy for him to get around a defender. Not only of what we've seen, he's had some good moments tonight, but he's got such long legs, and you would expect someone who stands at about 6'3", 6'4", to be able to get a toe poke or something, but Johnson just completely froze him.
Don't be surprised if this is the end of, well, they're gonna go with Bevan. Thought maybe they might pull Johnson off after that.
And it's gonna be Bustamante coming on. 28-year-old from Lima, Peru, who moved to Chicago at 7 years old. Another Fresno Fuego member. And AJ Ajekwa coming on and replacing Marty Mabin.
Rough night for Mabin up top. Never really got into the swing of things. Really struggled to try and find that connection with Saeed Robinson to Shane Malcolm, and it's really been a disconnect all over for Colorado Springs. Said their transitional play needed to be better. They found some life right around the 60th minute mark, 58, 60 minute, but for the substitutions, the chemistry started to switch a bit, and they went into this three-back system. You would expect them to kind of overtake the midfield. They've had some better looks, but nothing overly convincing whatsoever. For Fresno on the other side of things, this is one of the positions with Bustamante stepping on. Adam Smith telling us that, you know, there were a couple looks over the course of the season that they felt like they had made the appropriate moves, and it just didn't pan out. The number 9 position up top is one of them. You don't really have that massive presence that you would from a striker with Fresno. You've got guys like Jamal Johnson, Chaney's gotten involved. Kafa's had his say a few times over the course of the season, but you don't have that one guy, that go-to, that has been able to get the job done for them. He says that's going to be a look for them in the offseason to try and solidify that spot.
Especially with all the expansion, you have some players who have already signed contracts with other teams. I mean, you think about Chandler Hoffman from the Monarchs. He's the first ever signing for Birmingham, his hometown club, who's coming into fruition in 2019. You think about Omar Salgado, who's currently with Las Vegas Lights FC, former #1 overall pick in the MLS Super Draft. He's going to be with El Paso. As Ajekwa skipping away from a couple different defenders. A good challenge from Mickey Daly. Malcolm looking for a nice little 1-2. Malcolm brought down by Daly, but it was clean. Am I forgetting any others?
Pretty spot on. But again, it goes back to there's so much talent in the league, And because of the way that the contracts are structured, to be fair, you really have no clue where players are going to end up. I mean, look at going into the end of last season, Rochester Rhinos make another amazing run. And Louisville ends that, but then they don't exist in the 2018 season. Now that's going to change next year as they get involved and make their way back in to a different level of the league. But Bob Lilly departs, takes a bunch of his boys with him to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
It's all going to even out in the end, because if you think about some of the other teams, like the Richmond Kickers, who are moving into a different situation,
Visit the Fresno FC team store.
a lot of those guys aren't going to go to League One. So therefore, it's not a dispersal draft, but it basically is just sort of free pickings for teams around the USL who want to pick up some loose pieces from some of these teams who are not going to be in the USL, but have USL, or we'll call it championship caliber players that are going, and the organization is going to be moving to League One. But there's a lot of new teams coming in, and it's going to be more than interesting to try to keep track of all of it. I'll tell you what, USLsoccer.com was outstanding with that transfer tracker during the offseason and the weeks leading up to the 2018 campaign, because there was just so much movement. And I just can't imagine whoever was in charge of it over there just was beyond impressive.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I know it wasn't you. I know what you were doing during the offseason. And a free kick for Fresno right inside midfield. If you were a GM in the USL, Devin, 2 players that you could start a team with, 1 defensive, 1 offensive.
Field players, so it can be a goalkeeper, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, field players.
You want to start out with like a substitute, with like a super sub? I don't understand. Jamal Johnson towards the back post.
I meant, you said offensive, defensive. I meant I was going away from a goalkeeper.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a moment. AJ Ajakwa, big touch towards the middle. Jordan Burt, he's going to tee one up. As you were.
It's difficult, too, because I'm thinking in my mind players' ages as well.
Just for the 2019 season.
1 season?
1 season.
Oh.
But with the anticipation that there will be more seasons to come. But if you're going to make a USL Cup run in 2019, if you're the GM of El Paso and for some crazy reason every single player in the USL is up for grabs.
I only get 2.
You're starting your team with that.
I'm going to stay in familiar territory with my background. I'm going with Forrest Lasso.
Okay.
I like not only him as a defender individually, but his ability to combine with the back line and then step out of the back. He has an offensive presence in set-piece situations. And from everything we've heard around the league, he's fun to be around. He buys into the system. He's a nice person.
Rooms with Jimmy McLaughlin. I mean, he's got to be a fun guy.
He's got to be. Deal with that dancing. So Forrest Lasso. The second one are players that are real similar to each other, but also can be vastly different. It's a tie for me. I don't know if I can pull the trigger.
You're going to have to.
Okay. So
give me who your choice is and then who the runner-up is.
Manu Ledesma, Solomon Asante, Aiden Quinn.
So predictable. Well, all 3 of them. As it looks like Danny Barrera is going to be coming on. Grew up in Thousand Oaks, California. As it'll be Christian Chaney coming off, and he was the one who got things started in the 23rd minute. And Devin, his goal was an absolute laser, and it was a well-worked counterattack move.
One of the guys, 6 in fact, from Fresno Fuego, Navarro Cuevas, Bustamante, Chaney, Ryan Blanco, and all of them made an impact over the course of this season. And that was a fantastic shift by Christian Chaney. Adam Smith very happy with his midfielder's performance. Did a good job offensively and defensively. Got a fantastic goal, but he didn't stop. You know, as soon as he got that goal, continued to apply the pressure. We saw the bicycle kick, that an excellent opportunity just inside the box right before halftime. Always providing that link between the boys up top and the back line. Good movement.
Juan Pablo Caffa. What a hit, and Puati tips it over the bar. I was just about to say, if there was one more player on this field who was going to get their goal, probably Juan Pablo Caffa, but Puati had other thoughts.
He had been quiet, hadn't he? One look up. Loves that left foot of his. How many times have we seen it from the run of play and set piece opportunities? The Argentinian. What does your future hold? Not sure yet. Some work to be done yet over the course of the 2018 season.
One more game remaining against the Monarchs after this one, albeit at home in the comfortable confines of Chuck Chaney. And he's still got it, at least a season or two left in him, as Cooper finding himself in some space in the area, but makes a mess of it in the end.
For Caffa, it's all about the supporting pieces around him. He can't be expected to put up the numbers that he did mid portion of his career. And it constantly goes, or excuse me, constantly the burden went onto his shoulders. He's not that type of player, nor does he need to be that type of player.
Let me ask you this. It might be a polarizing question for Fresno fans tuning in as to your answer, and you can tell me to fly a kite.
It's pretty common.
Did he have a better supporting cast at Tulsa last year or Fresno this year? Remember, Tulsa was a 7 seed last year. I'll get back to my job while you think about it. Suggs sees it travel over the byline.
Wasn't thinking about it, was doing my job by not speaking as we got into the final third. I know better. Our producers would have our hide, to say the least. I'm going to say Tulsa, only because we've seen the body of work of what those players did last year and what they are now. So it's easy for me to say that.
Colin Fernandez.
Exactly.
Yes.
Guys that have consistently gone on.
Joaquin Rivas, Paraski.
You're talking about big names in the league that have gone somewhere else.
Yep.
It's difficult for Fresno because you don't know what they're going to do next year. But to go back to Adam Smith's point, he's admitted that they've gotten a lot of pieces wrong. Now, the core group of players, he said, we've gotten a lot of that right, which is the most important thing. He's already started the recruitment for the 2019 season. I asked him, I said, listen, do you guys have a list? He said, do I have a list? Absolutely. But I'm not the only one that has a list. I've got a list. Frank Gallup's got his own list. My assistant coach, Robert Earnshaw, has his. Even Ryan Chaney, the goalkeeping coach, he said, I want you to put together a list of players that you think should be involved in this group next year. And he said about 90% of them were pretty much the same. So they all have a pretty good idea of exactly who they want to bring back.
And there was another coach that we talked to, and I'm going to leave his name out because I don't think it's fair to say, but it seemed to be more his list, and it was the general manager's job to go and make that list come true.
Everyone's different. Any organization, there's plenty of ones.
If you were running an organization, would you want that many voices involved in who they think should be on the team, not necessarily who's getting after them?
You can answer it two ways. One, we don't know what goes on in Fresno, but is it really that many voices involved? We've been told that. It'd be very simple for Frank Gallup to go, okay, great, yeah, I'm going to go do this. I mean, he's the general manager. I would definitely be going to my assistant coach, assuming that he's going to be there next year. I'd want to have that conversation because
you're going to consult with people.
I've chosen my supporting staff, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I don't want, back channels talking, frustrated with the personnel we have in front of us.
But that's what makes it difficult, because if Yallop and Adam Smith have a list and 90% of it is the same, and there's 10% on either of their lists that's different, and they go into a point in the season and a player gets hurt, doesn't pan out, whatever it may be, the other one's going to look back and say, see, I told you. I mean, it may not be as spiteful of that, and that might just be something that I would say to you if it was us in those two positions, but it's sort of like having, in high school, if you had two head referees, having two opinions on the field.
That was the worst.
It's not good. It's not good for business.
No, it's difficult to deal with. But again, there's a pecking order. There's relationships that have been created. Fresno seems to be much more family-oriented. Everybody has bought in, and they all get along in very much a friendly setting. Adam Smith says he's more than happy being here, gets along very well with Frank Gallup on a regular basis, actually asks him about his thought process and coaching moves that he made. Frank Gallup has a massive background in that area.
Well, I think that is honestly the underlying theme and the difference between this coaching and general manager situation is Ribeiro was looking to put one on frame. Still could be on for Fresno. Barrera. Kaffa. He's just going to loft it in. Barrera's there. Looked like it might have hit off of Jamal Jack's hand. The referee's not going to give it, and Taylor Hunter plays out of the back. Very, very rarely will you see a GM who has the coaching pedigree that Frank Gallup has. I mean, Frank Gallup was the coach of Phoenix Rising and would have been for the 2017 season if he didn't want to be closer to his family in Fresno. In steps Patrice Carteron. You know, obviously before Rick Shantz was the interim for the first time. But I think that really does make a difference, and I'm sure Adam Smith appreciates having that type of mind at his disposal. This one chested down. Kaffa sends it back. Onside. And Jamal Jack breaks it up.
You can bet more often than not it's probably the opposite. It's probably a general manager sitting down with his head coach, and maybe the coach has consulted the assistant or the goalkeeping coach, got an idea, but the head coach is going to walk in and go, here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for. Those two minds, they might battle back and forth, and then it just becomes, okay, who's the one who's maybe got precedent, we'll say. You know, at Louisville, how much say does Hack have at this point in time, John Hackworth? You don't know. James O'Connor probably had a lot more pull than Hackworth does at this point in time. Now, that remains to be seen with the body of work that Hackworth's put in. What can they do in the postseason? So maybe that trust, we'll say, starts to be acquired over the course of his tenure there. Bob Lilly, he proved to you exactly what he wanted to get done because he walked into Pittsburgh with a bigger budget and said, here's the guys that I want. And it wasn't a thought. It was a command. He went out and got
get this done.
You know, Pittsburgh Riverhounds are the Pittsburgh River Rhinos. I'm going to steal your term because they are a lot of the Rochester Rhinos. And he brought his system, his personnel, and they've continued on, and they've had a great year.
This ball skips across the face of goal. And in front of the face of Moise Poati. As we're in the 88th minute, 3 different goal scorers for Fresno. Alex Cooper, Christian Chaney, and Jamal Johnson. As Adam Smith going down the line of his bench, shaking hands with his support staff. As they have certainly earned these 3 points tonight, and it'll be the first win since August 18th. Trying to end 2018 on a high note. Verhoeven slips it through, and wasn't a bad idea from Bustamante. Usually that run is being made, but Verhoeven didn't continue it.
Good display of skill by Josh Suggs. Well done by the outside back who's moved into the midfield.
Jaquep. Hunter. Jordan Bird on the turn. Jaquep rocking just a straight up sweatband.
He's not happy with Jordan Bird in that effort from outside the box.
Beautiful Chuck Chansey. Home to the Foxes in their first ever season. Has seen some ups, seen some downs. And we'll hopefully see the postseason in 2019. Led by that man. It was just a pleasure to talk to each and every time. Suggs. Jordan Burt. Jaquep. Good challenge from Del Campo in the end.
Oh,
That was cool.
He tried, didn't he?
Our fourth official says 3 minutes of stoppage time.
There will be 3 additional minutes of stoppage time. 3
And so
minutes.
does our public address announcer. Verhoeven switching the point of attack, but held it up just a little bit. Danny Barrera. And for those of you who might not have gotten their weekend fix of the USL, some big matches tomorrow in the Western Conference. Orange County and S2. Orange County looking to continue to put the pressure on Phoenix. Just 1 point separate the two sides at the top of the Western Conference table. Sacramento and Los Dos as the Quails continue to jockey for their best possible playoff spot, with the Monarchs faltering. Not exactly all said and done in the 3, 4, and 5 spots. San Antonio needing a big 3 points against Las Vegas. That kicks off at 8:30. Orange County will kick off at 10. These are all Eastern time. Phoenix and Reno at 10:30 as well.
Be a frustrating night for Tricho. Again, he and Adam Smith, two guys that you and I both, Tyler, respect. They have the utmost of class. Just always so polite to give us their time of day and let us know exactly what's going on in their mind over the course of a match.
Yeah, and that's going to do it. The Fresno Foxes see their first win since August 18th. And give the fans here at Chuck Chaney one more positive thing to take home before the conclusion of 2018 season. Kyle Rainish, in what possibly could be his second to last game of his professional career, able to get a clean sheet. Christian Chaney was magnificent. Got things started in the 23rd minute. And then it was Cooper and Jamal Johnson to finish it off. Devin Kerr, your thoughts on the 90 minutes?
Solid stuff from the Foxes. Have to be impressed with the energy that they brought into Chuck Chaney tonight. Get their first win in about a month and a half. They did it versus a very good squad, Colorado Springs, who never really got things going. Now you get an opportunity to come back in just a short few days, take down Real Monarchs at Chuck Chaney, and finish the season off with a bang.
Meyer Bevan was able to put his stamp on this match, and our El Mexicano man of the match is Alex Cooper, who was able to get the second of 3 Foxes goals in the 47th minute by way of a great ball from Bevan. Assist on the goals, Chaney by Juan Pablo Caffa, Bevan on the Cooper goal, and Jamal Johnson by way of Pedro Ribeiro. So the Foxes come away with 3 goals, a clean sheet, and 3 points. Colorado Springs Switchbacks, well, not necessarily in the same boat as they drop yet another one. And a frustrating end to the season for Colorado Springs and Steve Strichu, but they also have one more game to try to clean things up. We're heading to the post-game show. Final score, Fresno 3, Colorado Springs 0. Stay with us. full time as Alex Cooper, our El Mexicano man of the match, shares a nice moment with some of the youngsters who helped out in the ball boy capacity. And Cooper was able to add to the Fresno Foxes tally, which was 1 heading into the halftime break, and 2 minutes into the second half it became 2, and then Jamal Johnson, yes, indeed, he did make it 3 as Christian Chaney showing some love to the supporters who came out. And there is a look at our Zoom Imaging Solutions shot of the match. And it's Bradley Camden Fewo helping the Foxes soar to victory. And we'll take a look at how the 90 minutes went down. Fresno, Colorado Springs, Tyler Terrence. And right along next to me, Devin Kerr. Jamal Johnson off the post early in the first half. Meyer Bevan couldn't quite clean it up.
Bevan was frustrated with himself. Felt like he should have done better, and maybe should he have brought it down? Not really sure. We had seen Chaney starting to gain some confidence, piggybacking off the works by Jamal Johnson, and finally in the 23rd minute, he would break that deadlock. Has a crack from distance. Fantastic goal. Kaffa's going to get the assist. Alex Cooper, well, he would tuck things in the 47th minute, just at the start of the second half. There's some confusion right at the top of the 6th. Difficult for Puati. Couldn't really find it.
And as we continue to look at our Just the Tip highlights, Alex Cooper able to beat Moise Puati, and I'm sure Puati will look at that either tonight or tomorrow morning and be very frustrated with himself. Then we would fast forward a few minutes. Jamal Johnson making defenders look like cones. We won't name any names, but it's a terrific finish in the end.
Everybody, myself included, probably thought he was going to bring this across his body and put it on that big left foot of his. Alex Cooper, we said he put it, tuck it away in the 47th minute. Jamal Johnson puts it to bed in the 71st. Never really enough for Steve Tritchu and his boys. You see the possession number and the shots, but how many of those really challenged Kyle Rainish? Not too much to write home about for the Switchbacks FC. Difficult season for them coming down the stretch. Very up and down. It's pretty similar to what you saw in the course of this game.
They will be at Sounders 2 in their final match of the season this Wednesday. And we mentioned before, the Foxes will play host to Sebastian Velasquez, who is finally fit and healthy, and the rest of the Real Monarchs of Salt Lake City. Fresno with a great opportunity to play spoiler and perhaps force Thomas and Alave's side into a road game in the first round of the Western Conference postseason. In what universe did we think that was going to be possible on October 6th? Well, apparently this one. It was a terrific night of football at Chuck Chancy, and while we mentioned so many times before, the playoffs were not on the line for either side, but sometimes that makes for the best free-flowing football with all the pressure off of their shoulders. As Fresno come away with a 3-0 win, Jamal Johnson, Alex Cooper, and Christian Chaney, the goal scorers, not in that order. For our outstanding crew, my broadcast partner, Devin Kerr, Tyler Terrence, saying so long for now. Fresno 3, Colorado Springs 0. We'll talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.